Michael Hunter.
How disappointing and frustrating was it when he pulled out of the fight?
He's a coward.
I didn't realize this was a rematch. I never saw the first fight. In 2014, Mike outpointed FORREST unanimously over 8 rounds. Mike weighed in at 207 1/4. FORREST weighed in at 224. This is before Mike fought Alexander Usyk for the WBO cruiserweight title. I don't want to talk about Michael Hunter's doughy looking physique because he's always had that at heavyweight to a degree. But since the draw with Povetkin in December of 2019, he's had 2 tin cans he's knocked over in 4 rounds apiece. Sean Langery and Mike Wilson. And this is his second fight this year. And since Eddie Hearn released him from Matchroom, he's turned down the Hrgovic Eliminator. I don't know what he was thinking of. He doesn't look motivated in there, carrying his hands low. And he is getting caught. I've noticed the absence of Hasim Rahman in his setup. Round 5, Jerry Hunter had a really good round. And you could make a case that Jerry is in front. He's on the front foot. He's landing good left jabs, left hooks, body punches. And Michael really hasn't put any conviction in his work as such as yet. Round 5 and 6, the commentator said Jerry FORREST had the edge in power punch connects, 28-22. And that looked like an accurate reflection as far as I was concerned. Mike tried to up the tempo in the 6th, but FORREST came back. You know, Mike landed some good shots. FORREST kept coming back with his own straight left, jabbed at Mike's chest, coming forward. Mike not really showing me much. Jerry FORREST looks like he wants it more. So who am I supposed to score it to? I'm not sure. Before the start, I think of round 5, when Mike was coming out, because in the copy of the fight I got, they was muting the intervals. But as Mike came out, he made this, I don't know if he was trying to get something off his lungs or was he puking up? And they showed him before he came out for the 7th, and it looked like he was throwing up. Maybe he's not in the best of health. He came out fast for round 7, throwing both hands. FORREST hits the canvas. It's a debate whether it was a knockdown or not. The referee doesn't score it, and perhaps the commentary made a little more of it than what it was. And then Hunter, he went back into his shell. On occasion, he gets off a decent right uppercut, but his punches look wild, sloppy. You know, and like, we can ask if it was a knockdown or not. Jerry FORREST wasn't hurt, but did Jerry hurt Hunter near the end of the 7th with 2 left hooks? It seemed like there was a little of a reaction in Mike's legs. He poker faced it well, but he definitely felt them shots. I think the first one, he was waiting for the referee to perhaps signal the action to go ahead after they exchanged. When they exchanged, they stopped punching. They didn't go into a clinch, and it looked like Mike was waiting for the referee's instruction, and Jerry threw the left hook, and he was entitled to do so. Protect yourself at all times. It was a good shot. Lucky for Mike, Jerry isn't a noted puncher. He could have been in some serious trouble. Now it's all on the line, and credit due to Mike, he's showing some dog in there. He is showing some dog, because he's pushing himself forward now in the 8th, throwing body shots, but he can't subdue Jerry. Jerry just won't be subdued. And quite frankly, Jerry is the better inside fighter. Jerry's throwing bombs with both hands, and it's Michael breaking off the exchange, wanting to retreat. Jerry's actually beating him up round 8. He's actually beating him up. And Mike's gas tank looks all sold out like Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Jerry FORREST round. One of the commentators actually said Michael Hunter had a very good round in round 8. I don't know, I saw something totally different. I like what Jerry does. He's a southpaw, but he uses his backhand as a sneaky little jab as well, which is Jerry's all right. Jerry's a decent fighter, you know. Now in my opinion, is getting critical for Mike because Jerry's the puncher. Lands a big left hand, round 9, early round 9, right between Mike's guard. Mike put his left forearm in Jerry's face, trying to buy some time. Jerry didn't like it. Referee didn't even warn Mike about it. Mike's got swellings all over his face now. The swelling on the left-hand side of his face is really bad. This is the hurt game, people. Jerry's fighting for his career here. Literally, he's fighting for his career. And he's beating Mike in this round as well. He's fighting for his career, literally. I'm not keeping a scorecard, but I don't have Mike ahead. I don't have Mike ahead. I certainly don't have Mike ahead. 1 round to go. Mike has what the commentator described, got a golf ball under the right eye and a bad swelling on the right-hand side of his face. This is the pain game right now. And might need a knockdown or two or knockout to salvage this. There he goes, tagging Mike again with combinations. There he goes. Oh, Mike looks off balance and his feet don't look right. Jerry's attacks are knocking him off balance. Jerry's blowing hard, as he should be. This tough fight, everything's on the line right now. Oh, combinations by Jerry Forrest. And Mike backs off. Mike tried to put them together, but it's having no effect on Jerry at all. Jerry swings back at him. Jerry breathing very hard, but he's pushing himself on. Mike's face is busted up bad, man. Look at the left-hand side of his face. Mike holding on himself. Jerry coming forward in the obvious distress that them swellings. Oh, it's got Mike in trouble. Got Mike in trouble. As they exchanged on the ropes, Mike had his back to the ropes. Off, straight left by Jerry. Mike looked in all types of trouble. Hey, I didn't keep a scorecard. I had Jerry winning the fight. I had him winning. 96-94 Hunter, 96-94, 95-95, split draw. A split draw. Mike was the bigger name, is the one that Triller is backing. And this is what I'm saying about boxing. If you don't have a big machine behind you, you're going to get screwed over royally. You're going to struggle. You are going to struggle. Robbery sounds cliched. I didn't keep a scorecard, so I'll leave it there. I don't know what to say for Jerry. You know what I mean? Hopefully he can still get some paydays. And Mike, he needs to tighten the shit up if he's going to go any further in the game right now. Maybe the southpaw stance gave him trouble. He hasn't fought no decent competition in a couple of years since the Povetkin fight. I don't know how badly getting released from Matchroom has affected him. I don't know. I think perhaps the public opinion turned against him. At one stage he was the bogeyman, and then he turned down the Hrgovic fight. And that status he had as the bogeyman turned to, you're a ducker. No Hassan Ruttman in the corner. I don't know. He needs to tighten his game up. I hate to say I told you so, but when Mike was the road warrior, fighting in Europe, taking paydays where he could, and upsetting opponents in their backyard for a little while, people were looking at that throwback element. And I told you, when he gets confronted with the risk-reward situation, this could all turn on him. And I said, I don't believe he is who you think he is. And when he was confronted with the risk-reward scenario, most fighters who get to the world rankings and are looking at title shots will be confronted with this. It's how do you play it? You know, because you go from a warrior to looking like a businessman, and unless you're Mayweather, Canelo, etc., it's hard to pull it off. It really is. But let's not put this all on Michael Hunter not looking good in there. Let's not put it all on that. Jerry, the Rainforest, is what I'm going to call him, is a little underrated. That's 2 draws against Zhang Zhilei and Michael Hunter on the bounce. These are world-ranked contenders. You can make a strong argument that Jerry won both them fights. He is a handful. He's the guy that if you're going to be pitching your prospect or contender in there, just have a warm-up against Jerry. You could be making a big mistake. Good work rate, southpaw, decent technique, not a massive puncher, takes a decent shot. He took some big shots against Zhang Zhilei, didn't he? Got off the canvas a few times to get a majority draw. I don't know, YouTube and Twitter, they don't seem to be impressed with Michael Hunter or the result. Frazer Clarke, Olympic bronze for Britain, super heavy in the 2020 Olympics. He signs with Boxer and Sky Boxing. Now, a lot of people were thinking he was going to sign with DAZN, considering that he's hooked up with AJ's 258 management. Did Eddie even put in a bid? I don't know what's happening with Eddie and AJ. I don't know. Is AJ going to fight on DAZN, or is he going to just continue on Sky? It's all up in the air a little. It's a great signing for Sky. It really is. And are some of these fighters opting to go with Sky because it's a tried and tested platform? Once they get a roster of good fighters, and they've got some decent fighters there, and a catalogue of good fights behind them, and some pay-per-view stars, they've got Sky Sports News, Sky News, and all the other Sky channels to advertise fights and shoulder programming, etc., etc. DAZN is not as visible as Sky. It just isn't. Sky's been in the UK since, 89/90. And then the other consideration is Matchroom and DAZN, they've got Babbage, they've got Fabio, they've got AJ, depending on where AJ is going to fight. Even though Dillian isn't on a fixed contract, they have him. Johnny Fisher. Sky, who have they got? They got Huey Fury, and I can't remember anyone else. Nathan Gorman, they got Nathan. But in theory, Frazer will get more attention at Sky than at Matchroom and DAZN because there's just so much heavyweights there.
According to Sky Sports, Tyson Fury has claimed that Deontay Wilder has asked for a $20 million fee to step aside to allow him to fight Anthony Joshua.
Can't really believe much of what Fury says, but we still have to look at the facts that we have to hand. Bob Arum said the arbitration won't be no issue. They may have to pay Wilder some damages, and I know some people are a little illiterate with language. Damages, if you want to play semantics, is step-aside money. Tyson Fury said he's not going to pay Deontay Wilder step-aside money. Why are they prepared to pay AJ step-aside money? How much will AJ want? If Wilder wanted 20, how much will AJ want? 10, 20, 30? Are they going to pay him that to fight Usyk? Because we have to start at an 8-figure number. £10 million minimum. Does Frank have that type of money to pay AJ? Company's house would beg to differ. And Bob Arum is saying Fury's next fight, logically, is Dillian Whyte. Go look at Bob's track record. He doesn't have a track record for just giving out that kind of money and there's no fight happening. Is it just talk to hype up Fury a little, keep his name relevant? Like Fury yesterday was in some club singing AJ is a PUSSY. Is AJ just on this guy's brain? Or do they just have to use AJ's name to stay relevant? Now, if they come up with this 10, 20 million, and I think AJ should take the money. Should AJ take the money? The ends justify the means is what they say. And if the long-term strategy pans out, he'll be vindicated in his decision. But with the unpredictability of the boxing market, or maybe instability is the better phrasing, there's no way you can predict that, he gives up his title shot and that the winner out of Fury and Usyk automatically get in the ring with him. Lots of stuff can come up. Dillian's going to want his mandatory shot. The sanctioning bodies can throw spanners in the mix at any time. But theoretically, if he was to take the money, have a fight in between him to sharpen up, maybe a couple of fights, get his training situation sorted out, and then go for the winner, it's feasible. It's feasible, that's all I'll say. But if they come up with this 10, 20 or whatever $1 million offer, because it's going to be no less than that, 8 figures, then we have to ask why they didn't pay Wilder that money, but they want to pay AJ. I know people have short memories. Tyson Fury kept complaining about inactivity with a proposed AJ fight. But when he got the Wilder fight, he didn't mention inactivity being a factor at all. Now, I know some of you just don't know boxing like you think you do. You think because Usyk did this and that applies to everybody, can just run up in AJ's house and ransack it. But it doesn't work like that. I know a lot of people try to ignore certain things that are in front of them and pretend that isn't the real narrative. Tyson Fury has been offered the Anthony Joshua fight a few times. Just saying. Yeah, AJ lost to Ruiz and he lost to Usyk. I know. But is there something about Anthony Joshua that spooks Tyson Fury? So, we watched a little boxing today in Spain. KERMAN LEJARRAGA, is that how you pronounce it, beat up yet another British opponent. How much British guys has he beat up over there? At welter, light middle, Jack Flatley from Bolton was his latest victim. He stopped him in 9 rounds. Well, knocked him out in 9. Previously, he's beaten Jez Smith, Tyrone Nurse, Frankie Gavin, Bradley Skeet. All British opponents sent over there to get beaten up. He has 2 L's on his record, and that's from David Avanesian, who showed the Brits how it's done, stopping him twice, the second time in 1 round. Flatley just couldn't match the firepower and got ground down in 9, knocked down 3 or 4 times. This was on DAZN. I also saw Campbell Hatton on this card in Spain take on an opponent who had a 10-24-0 record. And Campbell scored the first stoppage win of his career. The body shots did the damage, and the opponent couldn't stand up to it. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. His first name is Attila. So, you know, the plan was to take him off the major cards in the UK, get him a low-key-ish card in Spain, and it seems to have paid off. I know the opponent wasn't all that, but Campbell didn't seem so anxious as we've seen previously. There were some improvements with his feet and his punching technique, and he moves to 5-0.
According to Wikipedia, Isaac Lowe is a British professional boxer.
Isaac Lowe was on an MTK card in the York Hall tonight. He took on Luis Alberto Lopez from Mexico. This was an eliminator for Kiko Martinez's IBF belt that he recently won from Kid Galahad. Now, Isaac has visited my channel, letting me know what he thinks of me and my opinions of Tyson Fury. But we're not going to hold that against him. We'll go for his fight objectively. Isaac piped up after Martinez knocked out Kid Galahad and said he beats Kiko Martinez all day. Now, Isaac had hometown advantage. He was undefeated going in. 21 wins, no losses, 3 draws, 6 stoppages. He looked to have considerable height and reach advantages. Now, I don't know if that York Hall crowd, because it's a compact arena, very compact, and the fans are almost in the ring with you. But to me, he emotionally got caught up in a slugfest with a Mexican with a mean left hook and a man who was slicker on the inside. Isaac got knocked down, heavy knockdown, with the first left hook that Lopez threw. Now, Isaac had a few moments here and there, but the Mexican's punching was way more effective all throughout. He floored Isaac with an overhand right in the second and ended the fight with a big body shot in the 8th, and there was another uppercut in there from what I remember, and Isaac was counted out in the act of rising at around 9. I don't know if he was trying to emulate Tyson Fury with this blood and guts thing, but it just wasn't a good strategy, was it? Like, he's not a huge puncher, but he's going after this guy like he's going to knock him out. One shot. And sometimes, yes, you're going to have to trade with these tough Mexicans, but you need to make a good start, surely, you know. Pop your jab, move side to side, stay away from that left hook, tie up, try and walk your man into punches. Easier said than done, but that's what you have to do against the elite Mexican sluggers. And he came up short. So his world title aspirations have to be put on ice for a little while. Tyson Fury was in his corner, but on this showing, Isaac Lowe can come back, but he didn't look world class to me. I certainly wouldn't favour him to beat Kiko Martinez. Certainly not.